Alrighty, guys. Hello YouTube. This is Hygiene Zero here, back with another movie. Keep saying movie, TV review. This is Batman Beyond season 3, and hopefully, and I'm striking to talk a little bit longer than I did in the last one because I was kind of tired. I shot both 1 and 2 together, and I said I was going to talk more about 2, and I don't think I hit all the points that I wanted to. So I might talk a little bit about season 2 and season 3. So for starters, one, with the stories that they were telling, and Batman Beyond season 3, it went more of the good comic book route. I want to say they didn't really go deep into corporations or pretty much corporations or high school stories. Technically, but that's how I saw it. They still had like 1 or 2, but they also had good dramatic, stories they were telling. Pretty much, like I said in another review, like telling a 23 minute movie. And I'm technically I say that because this is around the time when the show was pretty much about to get canceled, even though the producers were saying that the show didn't get canceled. They just got the slot and they just stopped making the show, which I highly really don't believe in. I mean, if you have too many complaints, it eventually shut you down. Something eventually is gonna make you stop versus you have no budget or you have less participants or something like that. Oh, excuse me. 9 times out of 10, it is a subject matter that you're probably talking about. So, pretty much what I said with more comic book ish is that there are at least 2/4 episodes that are two-parters. One of them is the Curse of the Cobra episode, which I come to find out that they actually did exist in the comic books. I can't really remember if they were a Justice League villain or a Batman villain, but I know that Jack Kirby had created them, so I'm assuming it could have been one of the two. If you guys want to tell me, correct me in the comment section, go right ahead. And then the Justice League Beyond episode, that's what I like to call it. The episode is actually called The Call, and it's pretty much what the Justice League is in the future. And Superman brings in Batman to find a traitor because he knew that, it's presented that he would definitely find out who it is. And of course, he can trust Batman, but we all know that Batman can't trust many other people because everyone's gone rogue around him. What I noticed with most of the Batman stories, he's the only one that hasn't been ever compromised or flipped, in any way, shape, or form. I mean, he may have scared a few innocents, technically children, with his costume, but other than that, someone from the Justice League always end up turning on him or the League itself. And this episode was interesting because a small twist, and as well as a little spoiler, but it's been out for years, and hell, you can pull it up on YouTube yourself. Superman was infected with the Starro parasite alien, and the funny thing, I remember seeing the original episode when it showed the flashback when he was on the collector ship who was collecting different creatures, and it just never really showed the outcome of what he did. I remember seeing the episode once. I distinctly remember it because the alien was injected in outer space, and I just saw the movie Alien when I was a kid. And that's how the alien, the first one, had died. It was injected in outer space, so that's how I distinctively remember it. And the story goes that he didn't know how to put, or not put, but take the aliens back to their home world. And one day while he was feeding Starro had infected him. And the thing is that the actor that played Terry McGinnis / Batman, him and the producer, not Tim Denny, Bruce Timm, they were debating and saying, since he got infected, the whole time we see him in the Justice League, he's actually controlled by some parasite. But they did do it right, continuity wise, because it showed the clip, and he was older when it happened, because it had me guessing. And I even saw it on YouTube a long time ago before I bought this DVD, and it showed it is the whole debate again. And then even when I saw the episode, I was like, oh, okay, it's all cool now, because I was tripping at first. Like, every time we see Superman in that point in the Justice League animated series, he's infected with the starfish and is not And the cool thing about Starro is that he was the first Justice League villain in the original comics when it was called All Star Comics. Before the term Justice League didn't exist yet. It was like in the 70s, and or I could be wrong about that, but you guys can correct me again. But the funny thing is that Bruce Timm, he really wasn't a huge fan. He didn't, of Starro. It was pretty much like a plot device in this scenario. And I now remember, now it's in my head. I remember seeing the comic book cover of all the Justice League fighting Starro, except Starro was super, super huge. He wasn't as small and contained as he was on Batman Beyond. But it was a nice little piece of the comic back into Batman Beyond because most of 80% of Batman Beyond, the material was original. Of course, you had Bruce and Terry there, their whole relationship, but Terry didn't become a part of the comics until after the show had ended. And even the comic book that I have now, Batman Beyond Rewired, it's pretty much his life in college. I think right after the show had ended, or it could have been after Batman Beyond, or the ending of Batman Beyond, because they had more adult oriented stories in the Batman Beyond or Rewired. Of course, all his villains team up at one point to take him down, but it's only like four of them. And, I think it was like Spellbinder Inc. and Shriek with a new villain called Rewire. Very, very cool design, by the way. It was giving me some ideas on my characters. And, Terry's in college. He has a love triangle between Dana and Melanie from the Royal Flush Gang, who's 10. So it was a lot of these cool nods, and it was living up to a lot of callbacks and nostalgia. Because like I said, there are a couple of villains that appear from the original Batman series, that are on here. But like I said before, they don't overshadow it. They created more villain types than they did, of the same character and their descendant. So they didn't want to take that route. Had another cool character on here. He can repulse I think some kind of subatomic particle matter. Like if you try to jump on him, I think electromagnetism or something like that. But what I do distinctly remember, and this is gonna go to another subject topic in a minute. His design looked like Isaac from Dead Space, just a little bit when I saw it. And I even posted this on a mutual friend's page because we were talking about, well, she had posted a video of how the Lion King was a ripoff of Kimba the White Lion, or pretty much Kimba the White Lion came first, and Disney ripped it off of that. And I even told her, it is true, because Matthew Broderick said he remembered watching the show, and he thought it was a remake, and come to find out it was there. They try to claim it as their own. And in a way, you really can and can't say that, because with the sequels, it is stripe away, just like with Fast and the Furious, of how they said it was the original was taking a lot from Point Break, but ever since then they had their own spill, even though a few of them were from different movies. But I'm gonna get onto that when we review Fast and Furious. But the point that I'm trying to make is that nothing is really original, and even Batman Beyond itself isn't original. If you really look at it, it's pretty much like a better version of Spider-Man, of the original Spider-Man, but it's in the future. I'm not gonna say Spider-Man in 2099 because or limited, because I vaguely remember watching that, and it was cool for the visuals, but I remember a couple episodes now, and it really wasn't, intriguing. I have to watch it again, but it's still its own thing, but I see it more borrowing some of the elements. But DC and Marvel have been doing this for years, of ripping off characters or who did what first. Even when I get to the X-Men, I'm going to tell you more about that, because I am a huge X-Men fan. But again, I'm jumping all over the place. So getting back to the point, Hollywood, it was 3 episodes, I think off the top of my head, throughout the whole season, that Hollywood has ripped off, or someone has possibly watched this show and got the idea. I'm going to start with the Splicer episode in season 2. There's a horror movie called Splice, and the only major difference is that, of course, it's dealing with messing with DNA and crossbreeding it. On Batman Beyond, it was with animal and human DNA. And in the horror movie, I think it was like uh trying to remember. Of course, it's human DNA. I can't remember if they spliced it with or mixed it with animal, but I remember that they were crossing. I want to say it had something to do with the chromosomes of the male and female because the specimen called Dern that they created, it was naturally a female, then eventually it turned into a male. And I'm not going to go into the extra weird territory because I saw the movie and it kind of creeped me out just a tad bit thinking about it now. But even then, though they say with human beings, when we're first born, naturally we're all female. We don't have, well, most of the guys, we don't have our main reproductive system, and it's formed until that X chromosome is dominant within our DNA. Again, if you paid attention to biology, I could be wrong about that, but whatever that male dominant DNA is, I can't remember if it's X or Y. It's one of them. I think it is the X chromosome, but once that is dominantly active, it's pretty much like with evolution. Then that's when it'll determine us as being a male. So, uh, again, with the Splice episode with Batman, it was really, it was crossbred between that and I think a mutagen at the same time, and that's what made him look humanoid and animalistic at the same time. The second one, and I just watched it because I only saw it. I think I saw it once or twice on TV when it came on, but it was the talking gorilla episode, and most people might say, okay, no, it's not. It could be a reference to Gorilla Grodd from Justice League and as well as Flash because Gorilla Grodd was a talking gorilla. He was very smart, but here's where the key difference is. Number one, Gorilla Grodd had it was a device around his head. I think I don't know which came first because I'm not a big huge Flash fan, but pretty much he has a device that's on his head and it gave him those abilities. It enhanced a lot. And again, I don't know if it came from the comics or if they incorporated into the show on its own. And I say with the Batman Beyond episode, they gave this ape some kind of mutagen from a human, and that's what created his intelligence at an exponential level. And this is what I'm about to get into. The remake of Planet of the Apes. You look at the first one, that's exactly what that whole thing was. The difference is that in the Planet of the Apes, the doctor was trying to cure all Alzheimer's disease that his dad had, and for some reason it made a human sicker, but it made all the primates smarter. So in an indirect way, it was kind of a ripoff because it was something that the human created and injected into the monkey or the gorilla, which indirectly happened in Planet of the Apes. As the first test subject, it was Caesar, and his intelligence had shot through the roof. So, as my uncle liked to say, same difference. It just the way it was looked and approached that was a different way. And then the last one was the Curse of the Cobra. You can kind of say this, or it's gonna jump back and forth on who had ripped what off, but it was dinosaur DNA, and I'm gonna say off the differences in Batman Beyond. In Batman Beyond, the dinosaur DNA, they got it from the bones. They didn't get it from the amber from Jurassic Park, which most of you might be thinking of. And even film theorists and another YouTube channel I was watching, they said in reality that couldn't happen anyway because if the mosquito was dead, most of the DNA inside of it is already dried up. Yeah, you're gonna be filling the gaps with a lot of more of what else to fully replicate it, which might be a lot of frog. But going back to the subject at hand, they were also in that episode turning their Cobra leaders into dinosaurs. And if you see the early production photos of Jurassic World, they had those nightmarish looking humanoid dinosaurs. It's like a raptor body with a human head. And to be honest, it looked cool to me. A lot of people didn't like it. It looked like something, in my honest opinion, if Capcom decides to remake the video game Dino Crisis, that's the approach they should go to. But that's just my opinion. So like I said, it's jumping back and forth on who ripped off who, and then there was another dinosaur. It looked like a Triceratops, but it looked like the Rhino a little bit from Spider-Man 2, but you can tell it was a Triceratops. It was a Triceratops head and a big bulking body. Yeah, and it was pretty cool. You can go on Google and look them up. And to me, I loved it. It wasn't like some kindergartner drew it. It was full cross anatomy, crazy, creepy looking hybrid human dinosaurs. And in the plot of the episode of The Curse of Cobra, they were trying to raise up the temperature all over the earth and pretty much melt the polar ice caps in the process of doing it, because reptiles are cold-blooded or warm-blooded, one of those terms, and that's one of the reasons why they were doing it. And it was like some kind of thermal bomb they want to drop into the volcano to make it active like that. So the main key thing was, of course, injecting them with the DNA, and to turn them into the humanoid dinosaurs. So when I was immediately watching it, that's what I was thinking of. You can kind of say the Super Mario movie too, but everybody got their own opinion on that. I'm not going to state the obvious elephant in the room, because even if any bad movie, I still try to look at the good side of it, of especially if it's an adaptation off of something else. I try to leave that off as much as possible and try to look at the perspective of the director. But again, jumping off topic, pretty much that's how I saw Batman Beyond. It had even the finale had a good episodes, and even between the fans, they're all debate of which was the final finales. Some people say it's what I'm looking at right now. Some people might say it's the movie of Return to Joker. But personally, I agree with my friend who had told me that it was the episode in Justice League Unlimited when Terry had really found out about him, who his actual father was. And again, I'm not going to spoil it because you can watch it on YouTube. And they, even in that episode, they had a lot of good elements of what they pulled it from. And even in the show itself, they kind of do spoil it all the way, or they kind of pretty much told you, the obvious, who's Terry's real father is. As a wink, wink, look at his hair color and then watch the original pilot episode with his father being in there. So that's the first clue. Him and his brother. So yeah. Other than that, I really liked how the final. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Going back to the final episode. The final episode was him unmasking who he was, and again, that was a little bit of a reference to the Spider-Man series. I think he did it in the comic book, and of course he did it on the cartoon series where he unmasked who he was. And I can't remember in the comic how it happened. Well, indirectly, I remember he had saved someone, but after that, I don't remember how the person knew. But in the episode, he's trying to save his kid, and his kid is afraid of him, and he takes the mask off, and he shows him, okay, he's a regular guy in a costume. And the weird thing about this, if you look up their continuity of when the episode should have been released online, it's kind of weird. And on the DVD, it's set differently, and I'm going to explain that. It's because, and it was really because of 9/11. That day, even in television, it really screwed a lot of people up. Certain things they couldn't do anymore. And, it was so bad with 9/11. If you see the original Spider-Man trailer, the first Spider-Man trailer, I remember seeing it back when I saw Jurassic World. Not Jurassic World, Jurassic Park 3, where they showed the first trailer. It was the web in between the twin towers, and then right after it happened, you never saw the trailer again. It was just that basic movie trailer. So, that day and me reading about it, I was like, man, it would explain why I didn't see any cartoons that day. I was 11 years old. I came from school. And that's when I heard about it. It was running all day. I'm trying to remember if they did say anything about it. while we were at school that day. I know they said something the next day, but that's one of the days that everybody remembers next to Pearl Harbor. It was like it is a big American tragedy, and you know, it was kind of funny how they were being hush hush about it. They aired it. Well, they said online it was 9/11, but if you see the behind the scenes on this DVD, they don't ever state it was the reason why. I think they were trying to get off the riff of politics, like I'm kind of getting on now because I'm personally getting flashbacks. Even though I wasn't in New York, I was here in Georgia. So yeah, on a lighter note, for the fans of Batman Beyond, this is a very good series. The sad part was that hopefully in the future we do see a live action Batman Beyond movie. They were actually in the talks of doing it before Nolan had got on, and I still think it would have worked if they hit the right dramatic beats, you know, of Batman. But I guess he wanted to retell it with Bruce, and then if Nolan or someone else just like him is gonna do an additional, somewhat sequel or another Batman movie of that serious tone, I think the Batman Neo Gotham one would definitely work. Of course, the first villain is gonna be Blight. I don't know who could be in the second movie as a villain. Uh, I'm thinking, oh yeah, 10 could be that one. In the Royal Flush Gang, and then in the third one, as a nice, good dramatic beat, the Curse of Cobra. So that's just my random idea banter for that. And oh, nice makeup time, 21 minutes. But thanks for hearing my chatter about this, and I'll see you in the next one. It's X-Men the animated series, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.